63 in Duluth, 67 in Athens and in Midtown. More news at 11:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
Well, would you look at that? This is the Nightcap with yours truly, and most importantly, your buddy, Jared Yamamoto. This is my new talk show, typically heard every Saturday night from 11 to midnight, right here on 95.5 WSB. And friends, I'm putting this out there early. I am annoyed tonight. And it's not necessarily the news of the night that's annoying me. It's just some observations that I've made over the past couple of days. I realize, yes, the election is a big deal, especially here on WSB, where everybody's been talking heavy about the election. We got 3 more days. The election is part of the reason why I'm annoyed right now, because a lot of people were getting on to me. Even family members were getting on to me. They're like, Jared, I cannot believe that you didn't early vote. Or Jared, I can't believe that you haven't made your decision for the presidential contest. Well, I'm here to tell you that I have made a decision on the presidential contest, and I have narrowed my choices down to 2. And it's not the 2 that you think. It's actually 2 people that you might be surprised about. So I'm going to share that later on in the show. We got 3 days till the election. But these are some other observations that I've just noticed over the past couple of days. And maybe, honestly, it could be because on Halloween I had way too much candy. Yesterday, I went out late. Today, did a little bar crawl with friends and family. So maybe all of this, maybe I'm like on a sugar crash right now. Maybe that's why I'm feeling this way. But I don't know. I am just annoyed by several things now. So let me see if you guys feel the same way that I do. Number 1, I make it a point, no matter how much sugar I have, no matter if it's Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, the middle of the summer, no matter what, I have made it a point over the past 2 years to prioritize working out. It is so important, especially doing what I do here at WSB, hosting my own talk show and then producing the Von Hessler Doctrine. And anybody in media, if you notice that people look really good and really buff that work in media, it's because in order to process all of the news and all of the information that's thrown at each and every one of us every given day, you've got to be ready for it. You've got to make sure that your body is ready to take on that kind of stress. And there are some things that on my workouts I notice that just really bother me. So much so that I have kind of eliminated the gym altogether. I prefer to work out outside so much more than going to the gym. And I've brought up here on my Nightcap how much I cannot stand when people in the gym, whether it's men or women, when they go in the gym and they decide to grunt loudly. It drives me nuts hearing people go, when they're lifting weights and stuff. So much so to the point where even if I have my AirPods in or headphones, you name it, I get so annoyed. I will go to the opposite part of the gym. You have successfully scared me away from the weightlifting section because of your loud grunting over in the corner of the gym. Thank you. Bravo. Bravo to all those people that make it a point to put on a show while they grunt as loud as possible amongst strangers in a gym. It drives me nuts. I did a whole episode about that. And thankfully for you, all of my nightcaps are available as podcasts on WSBradio.com and the WSB Radio app. So I don't want to go through that point. But here's something that I picked up over the past couple of days that just really bothered me here. And this is whether it's inside or outside, because I guess I just didn't notice as many people doing this. But why in the world are both men and women wearing hats while they work out? Whether you're on a run outside, whether you're walking, I guess I can understand a walk, because a walk can be casual and you don't want the sun to be beating down on you. I'll give that there. But if you're running as hard as possible or you're biking as hard as possible and you've got a backwards baseball cap on, what in the hell are you doing? What is the point of that? And I've seen people, it reminded me of that grunting episode there, that moment in the gym right there where people are grunting, that I remember countless people in the gym going in there with their backwards baseball caps, sweating all over the place, sweating all over the hat. And I'm like, what is the point of that? Who are you trying to impress by wearing a hat? Whether it's outside and you're on a run or you're biking, there is absolutely no point to wearing a hat unless you are shy about your baldness out there for some of the men out there. But other than that, there is no point to wearing a hat. All right, I'm already feeling better getting that off of my chest there. The other thing that I have noticed this week too that I'm really, really annoyed with is I know that last week I was in Denver and went to Red Rocks for the first time and absolutely loved Red Rocks, had a blast watching Atlanta's own Daily Bread perform out there and experiencing Denver and Boulder, Colorado. But I thought that this was something that was alarming to me. In a lot of the public places in Denver in particular, not necessarily in Atlanta, I know that Atlanta is just as guilty about this here, but there were some public places where there was obviously like an act going on, like a street performance or something like that. I'm thinking of, we went and saw a dog parade, right? A Halloween dog parade. And so many people were on their phones in one place. I mean, it was a beautiful, gorgeous day in Denver last week, and it was like in the 70s, and my friends are out there, we're in the moment watching the Halloween dog parade before going to Red Rocks later on that evening, and so many people in this moment were just glaring down like zombies at their phones, scrolling through it, while the poor DJ was having to, try to come up with reasons for you to look up from your phone. I mean, literally, it's the zombification of the human race, seeing so many people looking at their phones like that. Now, I would never pass a law that says that you wouldn't look at your phone. And I don't know if it's maybe an out west kind of thing, because I figured that in Colorado in particular, you're going to have a lot of people that are more outdoorsy than your typical Atlantan. But at least that's the mantra, that's the branding that they have living out there. But I was annoyed. Like, I remember looking, I'm like, there are so many people on their phones that don't care. I mean, even like the dogs were like kind of running out their leashes next to their owners because the owners weren't paying attention while all these people were on their phones. And then I picked up on it on our flight back when we were flying from Denver to Atlanta in the airport. So many people were on their phones. Like, I remember looking over and I'm like, what? Look at this. I pointed to my wife and I'm like, look, Tina, look at this over here. And people in the bars were all on their phones. They'd be sitting across from somebody, and instead of having a conversation, they were literally looking at their phones. So I don't know what's going on out west, but it really, really bothered me. Another thing that's really bothering me is everybody is excited about the big time change that's happening in a couple hours. I hate falling back. I cannot stand when the sun goes down at 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I cannot stand it. I know people are like, oh, but Jared, you get an extra hour of sleep. Isn't that great? No, it is not great at all. It sucks when we fall back. I cannot wait till we spring forward back into daylight saving time. That is what I cannot wait, and I am annoyed by it. And I know everybody else is like, but Jared, don't you love the extra hour of sleep? It's so great. It's so wonderful, and it's so cozy. No, it stinks. I hate driving home after I get done with the Von Hessler Doctrine in pitch black darkness. I feel like there's a lot of groupthink with people that actually believe that falling back is a good thing. Count me against those people. I can't stand it. I cannot wait, and I will be counting the days until we spring forward. Now, let's get into the political stuff, because there's a lot of stuff in the political world that's bothering me. Again, we are 3 days away from Election Day, and thankfully hopefully next weekend, we know who the winner is of this election, because I am getting tired of it. Number one, this secret voting tactic that's going on right now, secret voting technique, where apparently women in America have to make sure that they conceal their vote because their vote is their vote. And it's getting so much push right now from the Kamala Harris campaign that Julia Roberts made an ad suggesting that men tell their women how to vote, and that once you go to the ballot box, oh, don't worry, ladies, you can vote exactly how you want to vote. Where in the hell is this happening in America now? Listen to this ad.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose. You can vote any way you want. And no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Ha!
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls.
And you lose all your credibility right there at the end when you say, vote Harris Walls. All right, Rob, we're going to do this. Rob is making sure that my voice gets to each and every one of you. He's flying the Nightcap tonight. I want you to open up the phone lines right now at 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. We will use our little voice disguiser. And if anybody, whether you are a husband, a wife, a partner in any relationship out there that feels that you cannot tell your partner who you are voting for, I will put you on the air right now. I guarantee you I will not get a single call, Rob. I guarantee you it's not going to happen at all because this is a non-issue here. And I love when campaigns do this here. And right now, the Harris campaign has been driving me nuts with the tactics they've done in their quote-unquote closing arguments here. Now, don't think that I'm giving Trump a pass on things either. There was an annoying moment because RFK Jr., he ran as an independent, then endorsed Trump, and he said this ridiculous statement on Friday morning where he said that he had asked God for help for the past 19 years, and God gave him Donald Trump. What a big bag of you-know-what. Listen to this here.
End the chronic disease epidemic. And my prayer is this. I asked God for 19 years to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic and bring health back to our children. And in August, God sent me Donald Trump.
God sent you Donald Trump. See, what a big bag of you-know-what there. See, these campaigns, they get desperate in these last couple of days here. And right now, again, I have narrowed down my choices to 2 going into Election Day. I really wanted to vote yesterday, but got tied up with so many different things. Halloween went long the day before, too. And there are a lot of things on my mind going into Election Day. Number 1 being the economy. I brought this up on the Von Hessler Doctrine, how expensive it was just to get eggs and a freaking pumpkin this week at Kroger. It was $25. And I'm sorry, that impacts everybody across the board. And I feel like somewhat the Trump campaign's talking about the high prices, but I can tell you the Harris campaign definitely isn't focusing on it. And going into things that I'm annoyed about right now, I have seen all these stories about how wonderful the economy is, how the U.S. economy is the envy of the world right now. I want to talk about how ridiculous these stories are. And with it being 3 days until Election Day, can we please correctly say the names of the candidates? It's not funny anymore when you incorrectly pronounce the names of the candidates. We're going to cover all this and more when my Nightcap returns in just a few minutes.
1119 in the Cool Ray Carrier 24-hour traffic center.
See, I told you, Rob. I knew I wouldn't get any calls regarding this secret voting technique that apparently is happening across America, according to the Kamala Harris campaign. It's ridiculous that Julia Roberts had to come out with an ad saying, your vote is your vote, and you should keep it secret. Absolutely. It's totally fine. There are families across Georgia that are canceling each other's votes out left and right. And it's okay. That's what happens in every election. This idea that people in their relationships can't tell their partner who they're voting for, so much so that we have to have an ad campaign saying, it's totally okay for you to vote against your husband, or it's totally okay to vote against your wife, or it's totally okay to vote against your partner, is nonsensical. Keep those phone lines open there, Rob, and we'll see if we get anybody else. We will run you through our voice disguiser here at WSB Radio if you really believe that your husband, wife, or partner is preventing you from voicing who you're going to vote for, or you're having to lie to them on who you're voting for. I just don't buy it. I don't buy this nonsense. 2024 America, people are very vocal about who they're voting for. And even if you're not vocal about it, I'm sure that your husband, wife, or partner probably know or have an idea who you are voting for. Now, we did get some open mics in that past break here, and apparently I have pumpkin privilege because another thing that I'm annoyed with is how expensive things are, and it is impacting my decision at the ballot box this Tuesday. I assure you, I will be voting a lot on inflation and on the economy here, but apparently I have pumpkin privilege, guys. Listen to this.
Jared Yamamoto, I'm glad Christina is doing so well that you can spend $25 on a pumpkin and a dozen eggs. You go down Go to an Aldi. The eggs are still under $2, and the pumpkins are like for $5.99. I don't know what organic, cage-free, eco-friendly eggs you're getting.
These are a Kroger.
And what public, Whole Foods you're getting your pumpkin from, but check your privilege, man. Check it.
Check my privilege. Are you talking about pumpkins that you got after Halloween? Like, I got mine literally on Tuesday before Halloween, so maybe that's why the prices were inflated there. But I'm sorry, $25 is expensive. And I went to Kroger. It's not like I went to Fresh Market or I went to Whole Foods or anything. I went to Kroger. $25 is a lot there. And I know lots of other people paid these ridiculous prices just like I did. And I appreciate the open mic there. And I'll be taking more and more of your open mics on the WSB radio app. Now let's move on to this weird thing that's going on, especially within the Trump campaign now, where people think it's funny to incorrectly say Kamala Harris's name. We're 3 days away till the election day. Many of you listening to this station are politically minded and know what's going on. Saying Kamala Harris instead of Kamala Harris is ridiculous. Like, we know what her name is. That would be the same thing if Trump decided that he wanted to be Leroy J. Trump and people were intentionally calling him Donald J. Trump after he kept telling people that he wanted to be Leroy J. Trump. It's not an issue. And I am so tired of people making it a point to incorrectly say her name. You look like an idiot, and you are not persuading anybody. If anything, you are just telling fellow Trump supporters, yeah, that's right, I got her. Hell yeah, I know what I'm doing. I sure as hell told those Kamala Harris supporters out there, no, it's Kamala. Give me a break. Like, we are days away from the election, and you should be out there. If you really care about Trump winning this election, you should be out there extending your hand, trying to sway people to, number one, go and vote on election day, and then number two, explain to them why they should vote for Donald Trump over a Kamala Harris, not Kamala Harris. I mean, it's ridiculous that people keep doing this. Remember, like, if the shoe were on the other foot and Donald J. Trump had tried to change his name at the beginning of the campaign and wanted to be Leroy J. Trump, you would be upset if people called him Donald instead of Leroy. It would be the same thing. So I know that I don't run campaigns and not everybody else runs campaigns, but the idea of persuasion is so important. And when you're going into these final days here, people just really, really lock down and they're like, this is why you got to vote for my girl, or this is why you got to vote for my guy right here. And it's absurd to me to watch so many mistakes being made this late in the game by both campaigns. When we come back, I will tell you who I've narrowed my ballot down to. I've narrowed my presidential choices down to 2. I will share that with you. We're also going to talk about Young Thug being released. He has probation. We'll talk about the details of that. Lil Pump has got a new song, a new pro-Trump song that we'll talk about. And dentists are pulling healthy and treatable teeth to profit from implants. This is a ridiculous story. We're going to talk about that. All of this, by the way, on my Nightcap is brought to you by Guardian Home Experts, heating, air, and plumbing. All this and more when the Nightcap returns. I see what you're doing there, Rob, and I appreciate you, by the way. I appreciate you playing Atlanta's own Daily Bread to try to calm me down. Now, I did see him at Red Rocks and had a magical time last weekend, and it may seem like I'm angry, but I'm not. I'm just annoyed with several things going on. Number one, we're about to fall back, and I cannot stand falling back because so many people say it's such a good thing. It's so wonderful. You get the extra hour of sleep. But yet you feel that extra hour of sleep for, I don't know, like a day or two before you adjust, and then we just get darkness through the winter. So congratulations to those that love winter. You got your victory now, and I will be counting down the days until we go back into daylight saving time. That's going to be what I am going to be counting down. I love when we spring forward. People are like, but you lose the hour. So what? You get more sunlight. I would much rather be outside and enjoying myself. And speaking of outside, I don't understand why people go and work out with their hats on. It doesn't make any sense. If you are walking through a park or you're walking on a sidewalk, I get it. You're trying to keep the sun out of your eyes. But if you are working out intensely, like I've seen a lot of these bikers, especially on the west side, there's a lot of bikers on the west side of Atlanta that just think that they're about to go do the Tour de France or something like that. You're like, oh my goodness, like you better get out of the way from Biker Jr., from Jim Jr. over here. He's training for the Tour de France with his backwards baseball cap on. And it also applies to the runners out there. And for people that are even working out in the West Side Park, which I frequent all the time, I'm like, what are y'all doing? There's no point in wearing these hats. And then the other thing that's annoying is obviously the election, people incorrectly saying Kamala's name. They keep saying Kamala Harris. And it's like, stop. Like we are 3 days away. For those that are politically involved and love politics, you know how to say her name. Like there's no advantage that you get by saying her name incorrectly, and it's annoying. And the real reason why I am voting in this election is not necessarily because of the presidential race. I again, Trump is who he is. I've brought this up many times here. Trump is who he is. There are things that I like about him and things that I cannot stand about Trump. Kamala Harris has had every chance to try to convince me, but I have officially ruled her out off my ballot on this Tuesday. I'll be voting for either Donald Trump or Chase Oliver this Tuesday on Election Day. It'll be a gut decision. I feel like Chase could have run a much better race. He is an Atlanta guy too. I appreciate that about him, and I also appreciate a lot of the libertarian viewpoints. I myself am not a libertarian. I am a fiscal conservative and a social liberal, which means that I skew into the libertarian mold a little bit. But in my opinion, libertarians have not done a good job of getting themselves out there and in front of TV screens, on the internet, on radio. They're not doing a good enough job of getting their voices out and their appeals out there. And this also applies to Chase Oliver. And for me, it's going to come down to my gut on whether I stomach voting for Donald Trump again, or whether I just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to vote third party, because at this point, Kamala Harris has not done enough to convince me for her vote here. But what's really causing me to vote in this election, what's really the thing that's firing me up, is the fact that Fani Willis is on the ballot where I live in Fulton County. Talk about a complete waste of money for Fulton County. And again, all of this applies to her and her politics, not necessarily her as the person. I don't know her individually, but I can tell you Fulton County has got a lot of great things going on. The Beltline is growing insanely. You got a lot of people moving in, especially from other states. And both the governor and Mayor Andre Dickens have made it a point to say, hey, we want you to come to Atlanta. I want us to be an economic hub. I think that that's how Georgia continues to remain an economic hub in the United States of America, and we need more growth for that to happen. What I do think is dumb is that a lot of people that move from blue states in particular, they come here and they're like, man, I love how there's lower taxes. I love how I have a lot more space. I can buy a lot more things. And then they come here and they vote blue. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I'm not saying that all Republican ideas are right. And certainly in your districts, especially locally, which local elections are important, you should really, really look at the candidates individually to see what their policies are. But I do find it to be a head scratcher that so many people move from high tax locations to Georgia, especially Atlanta, and then they decide to vote blue. It makes no sense. It's like you're literally voting for the same problem that you had in your previous state or previous city and trying to bring more of that ideology to the South, which the reason why you left was to get a little bit more freedom. You wanted to have a cheaper house. You wanted to have a better life for you and your family. And instead, you come and you vote the same way. It's just a head scratcher to me. It doesn't make any sense, and I have to call it as it is here. But with Fani Willis, I am voting for Courtney Kramer in the Fulton County DA race. No matter what, I know it doesn't look like there's a chance that Courtney Kramer is going to win. I have made it I have made it a point over the past couple of weeks to look more into Courtney Kramer and find out more about what she's about. And again, she's probably going to spend money while she's in the DA office. But Fani Willis has just been a complete waste of taxpayer money for Fulton County when so much of that money could be going to more impactful things that impact you and me on a daily basis, like continuing to grow and get ready for the World Cup, like continuing to grow and get ready for the Super Bowl in 2028. Like there are so many things that make Atlanta great, and instead we spend millions of dollars to try and go after high-profile figures like Donald Trump and like Young Thug, which for Young Thug, he spent 900 days in custody. That's the longest on record, I believe, for Fulton County. And good job, Fonnie Willis. All you ended up getting, if you really legit believed that he was behind all of these gang-related charges, which I guarantee you, it was the people around Young Thug that were probably the ones causing the problems, not him. Just because he has a posse of people doesn't mean that Young Thug is directly involved with this here. But after sitting 900 days in custody, this is what you got, Fonnie Willis. Congratulations. You got 15 years probation as part of the non-negotiated plea agreement. So bravo, Fonnie Willis. Bravo for you getting 15 years of probation after 900 days behind bars there. So I like Young Thug. I like his music. I think that he may have had some involvement with some of the members of his posse that may have been doing these nefarious things. But I always thought that the RICO, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, has been abused here in the state of Georgia, especially in Fulton County, and especially by people that are political climbers like Fonnie Willis. And that is exactly what she went after Donald Trump for. The now infamous phone call with Brad Raffensperger, which if you actually listen to the full audio, it was a stretch from the beginning. I know a political climber when I see one, and that's what Fonnie Willis is. And again, I don't know her personally, but after the Nathan Wade thing, I'm like, whoa, okay, all right. There's some certain fantasies and fetishes that she has there, which that's fine. Everybody's got their fantasies and their fetishes. I'll put that to the side. That's her personal life there. But it certainly didn't make her look good on the national stage. And she really thought that she was above everybody. And she is the reason why I am voting in this election, is because I would love to see her ousted from the DA position. I know there are people in Fulton County that love what she's doing. Look at her. She goes after high-profile figures. She got 15 years probation for Young Thug. Bravo! Bravo, Fonnie Willis. Oh, look at, she went after Donald Trump, but I don't like Donald Trump, and she's doing a good job. Bravo! Bravo! Meanwhile, she spent millions of dollars on both of these cases. It's not cheap to have all these ongoing cases against high-profile figures, but of course, everybody's just happy because they see the name, they get excited, they're like, oh, yes. So for me, going into this election on Tuesday, voting on Election Day proudly, I will be voting for Courtney Kramer, who I have made it a point to do some research on. Again, she probably will end up wasting money too, but you know what? I would much rather see less money wasted than more money wasted, and that's how I'm basing my vote in this election. Now we got to talk about this here, because this is another election thing that I just think is bizarre here. Because, how much more bizarre could it get? The fact that we actually believe that wives can't tell their husbands how they're actually voting in 2024. Get the hell out of here. Again, I have kept those phone lines open. If there are any wives, husbands, or partners that feel like they cannot tell their significant other who they're voting for, we will run your voice through a voice disguiser here at WSB, and we haven't gotten a single call, right, Rob? Not a single call over there. Okay, good. Keep the phone lines open, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. If you really feel that you cannot tell your partner who you're voting for, then by all means, I will eat crow and happily take your call on the air, and you can explain to me why we'll run you through a voice disguiser. Haven't gotten a call yet, and I guarantee you by the end of the show, there will not be a call either. Now, this is where the campaign just turns to a very, very weird angle here. Lil Pump, another rapper here, he released a pro-Trump song with the support of the Trump team here. Listen to this. This is like a pro-Trump country song. Listen to this.
Forefathers who found this nation wouldn't want a family's worried about inflation. We need a stronger leader with the plan. Bullets flying, come down, thumbs up, smiling. You know what don't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh my goodness! I you know what? If that sways people to vote, then you know what? At this point, I wouldn't even be surprised right now. If you don't know who you're voting for going to the election, then perhaps Lil Pump will be the one that'll sway you. I know somebody that's not going to sway you is Mark Cuban. Man, this guy, we had him on our station. He's a very successful businessman, and I have a ton of respect for all the money that he's made. But when it comes to politics, he's an open Democrat, and I agree with him on some things, but there are a lot of things that I disagree with him on, especially when he said this about the Trump campaign and women here. Listen to this.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
You never see Donald Trump around strong, intelligent women. Look at this. Now I'm sounding like the Trump defender here. Do people forget that when he won in 2016, he had Kellyanne Conway as his campaign manager, and she was the first female campaign manager to ever win a presidential election. But that just gets thrown by the wayside because the Conway family is weird, right? George and Kellyanne don't have the best relationship, and oftentimes their political differences were featured on major news networks. But she should get a lot of credit. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was the spokesperson for the White House for a long time, is now a governor. She's the governor of Arkansas. Those are just two successful women. There are plenty of success. Kayleigh McEnany is on Fox News now, which, again, you could say what you want about Fox News, but she's got her own show on Fox News. I mean, there are plenty of successful women that have come out of the Trump camp. So when Cuban says things like this,
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
It's ridiculous, honestly, when I hear that type of rhetoric. When we come back, I want to talk about these dentists that are pulling healthy and treatable teeth to profit from implants. Yeah, we got to talk about that, and I got a couple more stories here. Apparently, Georgia is a very stressed out state. We'll talk about that, and I got a couple more surprises for you when the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto returns. And remember, my Nightcap is brought to you every single week by Guardian Home Experts, heating, air, and plumbing. More of this when we come back.
1148 in the Cool Ray Carrier 24-hour traffic center in San.
Can't believe we're already the last segment. I feel like I've got all this stuff in front of me and so little time to compress here in this last segment. And I don't promote enough my socials. My bosses get mad. They're like, Jared, let people know about your socials. So here I am. I'm doing it now. Be sure to give me a follow at Jared Yamamoto on Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. I'm on YouTube, all the different socials out there. I promise you can DM or comment, and I will do my very best to make sure to comment back and respond, because I love to continue the conversation, especially if it's something involving my Nightcap, something I may have said on the Von Hessler Doctrine. I can't speak for other members on the Von Hessler Doctrine, but I can speak for myself and things that I've said before, and certainly clarify, or if you have any questions about something that's going on either of the shows, feel free to comment. Or if you just want to say hello. I love making new friends on social media as well. Now, this story, here's one of the surprise stories I wanted to bring up here. From the New York Post, Florida surfer survives shark attack at the same beach he was bitten at 11 years ago. Okay, at this point, I'm glad that he's alive, but you probably need to pick up a different hobby at this point. Like, if you've been bitten twice on the same beach, it'd be hilarious if it were the same shark that actually bit him too. Then at this point, I'm like, I'm sorry, like, surfing just isn't for me. I wouldn't even do it at another beach. I'm sure this guy is going to be one of the people. His name is Cole Tashman. I'm sure he's going to be one of those guys that says, you know what? I was born to surf here. But I'm like, you know what? Once you get bit once, I'm like, a little bit hesitant to go back out there. Appreciate him riding the waves again. But after the second time at the same beach, maybe take up flounder gigging or something like that. Maybe take up just sitting on the beach, enjoying music, listening to the waves. I don't know, but after getting bit twice, I think I'd be moving on from that. All right, now I've been teasing it all throughout the show. Let's talk about this here. So from CBS News, dentists are pulling healthy and treatable teeth to profit from implants here. And I have seen stories like this before in the healthcare industry, and it's really sad. It is a way to try to pump up the insurance rates so that way these dentists end up making more money out there. I feel so bad, and especially for somebody that has healthy teeth that are going to get pulled. You know that you end up getting more insurance money by pulling the teeth there. And this applies to other areas of the medical field as well, too, where doctors are trying to find any way that they can to run those costs up, because it's not cheap to run healthcare, to run healthcare clinics. Listen, our healthcare system in the United States of America needs a major overhaul. I know that a lot of people, like the idea of socialized healthcare. I personally am not a believer in that. But I also do believe that at some point, the insurance-based healthcare model has proven that it doesn't necessarily work all the way through and through. I know many people have good insurance out there, but not everybody has great insurance. Now, I would never want government-run healthcare. Now, that is something where I just draw the line. I just don't think that it works. I have friends that live abroad that have had to deal with it before, and I think that the only cases that it works is when you have a minor illness, but when you have a major illness, then I have seen what government healthcare does, and overall, it doesn't work. Now, again, looking at our healthcare system here, though, the insurance-based healthcare system, I don't know if it's the insurance companies that have too much power to say how much the doctors can charge and whatnot, but there certainly are problems there, and I am willing to address those problems. And I do think that there are major overhauls that need to happen. I know I have lots of family members that are doctors and nurses that have worked in the medical field for a long time, and they'll tell you the exact same thing, that there are problems across the board with healthcare. And I really believe that if we were able to hold the insurance companies accountable for these ridiculous fees and make sure there are choices across the board with these insurance companies as well too, then that might be the start to a better healthcare system across the board. Again, I don't work in that industry, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but I can tell you from dealing with insurance across the board, I look and I see those big insurance skyscrapers in every metro city. So you know these companies are making big money out there, and there's got to be some accountability and restructure in the future. But that is our time for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on my Nightcap. Be sure to grab this show if you missed any of it as a podcast on WSBRadio.com, the WSB Radio app, or any of your favorite podcast providers. Oh, wow, I've really run out of time. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Please be safe and don't do anything I wouldn't do. See you next time.